Welcome back. This is part three of the May 21, 2011 End Time Prophecy Proof. If this is you just joining in this first time, what's to catch up to speed is back in 2011, there was a worldwide trumpet call declaring the end of the church age. And part of that declaration was that the wheat and tares were harvested and the separation process was happening. And then the second part of that was that eventually in the church, that the Holy Spirit will be taken out and Satan would end up taking his seat on the throne in the church. I was involved in this trumpet call from 2011. So now we're in 2025, and there's 14 years difference between the two. Okay? If you take that 14 years and you split it up between two sets of seven, you have the first set being 2012 2018, and the second set 2019 to 2025. The first set was Obama in his prime, in the beginning of Trump, and it's marked by a sort of a generalized feeling of feast. And starting in 2019 to 2025, today, 2019 was COVID. And then after COVID was Biden. And so this set of seven has a feeling of famine wrapped around it. Okay? This also lines up with Jacob having to work 7 years for Leah and then having to work again 7 years for Rachel. He also had to work another 6 years, Jacob, to get all the spotted and speckled flocks. And if you do the math here, if these line up perfect, 2025 and an additional 6 years, it's 2031. This idea of feast and famine in 7-year blocks is directly related to a dream of Pharaoh. And he had the dream sort of not twice, but he doubled, like once with cows and then once with wheat. So this is one time here. Okay, so then what we did here is we went to the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verses 24 through 27. And I can quickly bring this onto the screen. And what you'll see here is, for instance, here it talks about 77s in verse 24. 77s are decreed for essentially to complete the church. That's what I have written here. That the 77s are the time frame given to complete the church. The next set of numbers up there know this is that until when Jerusalem is rebuilt in 1948, until the time of Jesus, there's 83 years there in the middle. From the time that Jesus is put to death, which we'll get into what that means, Jesus put to death, is 69 years. And then at the very end, there's a covenant with many. See here, anointed one will be put to death, by the way. Not like I'm just saying that. The anointed one will be put to death. And then at the end here, he will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7. So, covenant with many for 1/7. Okay, so we already know. So now I think all we really have to do is just some math here. So I want to come back to here. We're going to do these math equations here, and we're just going to figure out what each of these mean. So here, this is the easy one here. So it's 1948 plus 83 . So what the book says, what Daniel says, is from the time that the Israel is to be rebuilt till the time of the Anointed One is 83 years. It's this equation which equals 83 years. So from the covenant, 1948, plus the 83 years, 2031. Where else do you see 2031? Remember, this is Jesus coming. This is Jesus' return. Remember here? He worked 7 years for Leah. He worked 7 years for Rachel. 6 more years for the actual flock. So he leaves with the flock. When he leaves, he crosses a river into the promised land. That happens in 2031. Jesus returns in 2031. You know what I'm saying? It's the same story. It's the same concept. 2031, 2031. Let's talk about this Jesus put to death here. So, 1948 plus 69 equals 20 equals 2017. Equals 2017. So what does that actually mean? Jesus put to death. Remember what we were saying in 2011? That the Holy Spirit needs to be taken out of the church and Satan would take his throne. Well, that's Jesus being put to death. He's being taken out of the church. That happened in 2017. Just like we predicted. Not just like we predicted, but it happened. Okay? It's the next one here. Look at this one. Complete the church. So now we're going to do the same math. 1948 plus 77 equals what? Guess what this one equals? 2025. And what's it say? To complete the church, that the church is done. Look what we were teaching in 2011, that the church age is over and that the wheat and tares still needed to be separated. Well, look here. 14 years later, the wheat and tare is done now. The process is finished. Right here. And now the church is completely complete now. So they're completely complete now. Isn't that something? Isn't it something that is 2025? Isn't it something that is 2025? Isn't it something that when you look and see who had a covenant with many concerning Israel was Donald Trump in 2025. So, covenant with many. So here you go, 2025 plus 8 equals 2033. You see that? Equals 2033. 2033. Okay? So what does that mean? That 2033. Well, that's the end. So Jesus comes in 2031 and still has some business to wrap up, and things end at 2033. But like it's probably the start of the millennium, I think. I don't really know that for sure, but I think it's probably the start of the millennium. But check this out. There's one more thing here that's really neat. So we saw the 2031 predicting the same thing. Jesus coming back, and here after the feast and famine part, 6 more years, and he gets his flocks. He gets the flocks. That's the whole point. It's getting their flocks and go in the promised land. 2031. Now watch this. From 2017 to 2031. So when Jesus leaves to when Jesus comes back, guess how many years is that? 2017 to 2031. Well, that's 14 years. That's 14 years. So right here, now we have 2018. Now remember, so 2017 would be the last year that he's there. 2018 would be the first year that he left. 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, right? Look here, 2025 comes back up. And then here would be 2026 to guess what? 2033. So all the way to the end. So right here we have, again, it lines up between, again, when Jesus left and to when Jesus comes back. But look what's kind of messed up here. This is kind of messed up here. We're already past 18. In fact, we're already at 25. That means that the last year of the feast between Jesus leaving and Jesus coming back is already gone. So the good part's already gone. And now it's only left with the famine part. And remember we said, there's the cliffhanger about the 2 times. One time was from 2011. And look here, there's another time going on that overlaps it from 2017 to 2031. Another set of feast and famine, just like the dream. Okay, so what do we do with all that information? Well, meet me back here for part 4, and we'll go through it. I'll see you then.